Reiki energy was rediscovered by Dr. Mikao Usui in the late 1800s. Everyone uses his name because Dr. Usui was the rediscoverer of Reiki. And while Dr. Usui was actively teaching, he traveled throughout Japan. One of his chief followers was Dr. Chujiro Hayashi. Dr. Hayashi was a medical doctor and a retired naval officer. And after Dr. Usui passed away, Dr. Hayashi carried on the tradition and the teaching according to Dr. Usui. Dr. Hayashi set up a clinic in Tokyo where people could come to receive the Reiki energy in a more formal setting. And one of the people who came to that clinic was Mrs. Hawayo Takata, a Japanese Hawaiian American woman. Mrs. Takata had returned to Japan to have a surgery. And while she was there, she heard about Reiki. She went and had a series of Reiki treatments. And the result was that she did not require the surgery after all. Mrs. Takata decided to dedicate her life to Reiki out of gratitude. She returned to Hawaii and she taught initially primarily in the Japanese Hawaiian population. However, later she was invited to California, and in California, she met the Reverend Beth Gray, who is a noted psychic and spiritual healer and a Christian minister in the Unity Church. Beth had some amazing responses to the Reiki energy, and as a result, Beth trained with Mrs. Takata and became the first Western Reiki teacher. While Beth was actively teaching, she trained over 20,000 students. However, she trained only 3 teachers. Of the three teachers whom she trained, one has passed away, one is retired, and the only one who is actively teaching is the head of our network, Barbara McGregor. Barbara was the editor and publisher of Australia's Wellbeing magazine, a leading complementary health magazine for many years. Barbara was selected by Beth and trained with her for 7 years before she became a teacher in her own right. At this point, Barbara has trained about 19,000 students, but she has trained only 2 teachers. Of the 2 teachers whom she has trained, I completed my training with her 28 years ago. I was selected by Barbara and I trained with her for 6 years. And then we have another teacher within our network, Sue Lake Harris, who also trained extensively with Barbara. As you can guess from our lineage, it's rather like the traditional Tai Chi or Qigong systems where a teacher selects the student undergoes an enormous amount of testing and training, as well as gaining experience in the system before they become a teacher in their own right. This is very different than what is taught by many other systems, where the teacher goes along for a weekend or a week. They pay money to be called a Reiki master. In our system, we adhere to the original teaching as it has been passed down from Dr. Usui, Dr. Hayashi, and Mrs. Takata. So you will be getting the original tradition of Reiki through our lineage.